यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड के नाम पर ऐसे लोगों को भड़काने का काम हो रहा है। आप मुझे बताइए, एक घर में परिवार के एक सदस्य के लिए एक कानून हो, परिवार के दूसरे सदस्य के लिए दूसरा कानून हो, तो क्या वो घर चल पाएगा? क्या कभी भी चल पाएगा क्या? फिर ऐसी दोहरी व्यवस्था से देश कैसे चल पाएगा? हमें याद रखना है कि भारत के संविधान में भी नागरिकों के समान अधिकार की बात कही गई है और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बार बार कहा है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट डंडा मारती है, कह रही है कॉमन सिविल कोड लाओ।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has ignited a debate around the Uniform Civil Code just when the Lok Sabha elections are in the offing. PM Modi made a pitch for the Uniform Civil Code while addressing BJP workers in Bhopal on June 28. The Uniform Civil Code is part of the BJP's poll promises. The Ram Mandir at Ayodhya has been built. Section 370 revoked in Kashmir. The UCC is now pending. So what is the Uniform Civil Code and why is it so contentious? In India, matters related to marriage, divorce, inheritance, adoption and succession are currently governed by personal laws that are specific to religious communities. The Uniform Civil Code refers to a common set of laws that will replace these personal laws for all the citizens of India. These laws will be applicable irrespective of religion, gender and sexual orientation of citizen. The Uniform Civil Code has been debated since the birth of independent India. Because it was such a contentious issue, it found a place in the constitution but with a rider. The UCC is mentioned under Directive Principles of State Policy, which are guidelines for the central and state governments. But these are not enforceable by any court of law in the country.
In Article 44, which is part of the directive principles, the directive principles of state policy have many things. They are not justiciable. They are not rights. They are broad brush strokes towards which a government is expected to follow. The position basically is that there is a directive principle in the Constitution about the Uniform Civil Code, but it does also seem that the understanding was that it would be largely done by consensus. Now that is what is elusive.
Now that we know what the Uniform Civil Code is, let's hear the arguments for and against it. We spoke to author and columnist Arun Anand and Supreme Court advocate Sanjay Hegde, and this is what they had to say. Should Uniform Civil Code be implemented in India?
I am against the imposition of a Uniform Civil Code. It's like saying that I am not against Hindi, but I'm certainly against the imposition of Hindi. Right now, I think this talk of a Uniform Civil Code is more like a political campaign slogan, a hashtag, and we have not seen an actual draft. Unless there is a draft, one cannot comment whether it is a good thing or it is a good law or a bad law. The question often is why now? What is the hurry to do it before 2024?
The UCC is important because it is not that it has become very important in the contemporary context. Most of the people are looking at it from the perspective of real politics. But if you look at the debates of the Constituent Assembly, the founding fathers of Indian Constitution had categorically mentioned that there is a need for Uniform Civil Code, and that is why they in fact put it in the directive principles. Now, how many more years we are going to wait? It's almost more than 75 years. So, when the Constituent Assembly has itself said that Uniform Civil Code is required, this is what the founding fathers of the Indian Constitution said. So, all those who respect the Constitution of the country, both in letter and spirit. So, I think Uniform Civil Code must be implemented.
Will UCC impact minority communities?
There is a particular era of demonization, of othering of communities, and they don't seem to be in a position where they would be willingly trusting further rights and liberties in the hands of whoever has an electoral majority. What would be the impact? I don't know. But I also know that when you try to impose a certain condition or a certain set of values on a substantial mass of your populace, which may or may not be ready for it, you cannot predict the outcomes. You can't. There will be an immediate impact, and there can be a long-term impact.
These are the same people who are criticizing Uniform Civil Code now, when in the Shah Bano case, they had compelled the government to overturn the decision of the Supreme Court. At that time, also they had taken this plea that Muslims will suffer or minorities will suffer. So, if you look at the past record, they had also said that don't remove triple talaq. So otherwise, minorities will suffer. See, ultimately, if you will bring the Uniform Civil Code, the biggest beneficiaries are going to be the Muslim women.
Could UCC infringe upon women's rights protected under specific religious practices?
As I told you, Dr. Ambedkar advocated the Uniform Civil Code. Of all that he said was in the context of the time when there was no civil code which was applicable to a large majority of Hindus. The Hindu Code Bill hadn't come. So now that the Hindu Code Bill has come in and 70 odd years have passed, do you want to say, oh, what is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander? History and life is much more granular.
See how it will infringe upon the Muslims, Muslim women's rights. That is not very clear to me. You know that last year Allahabad High Court had said that Uniform Civil Code should be brought. Okay. Apart from that, earlier Supreme Court also in several of its decisions has said that Uniform Civil Code should be brought. Third thing is that had Uniform Civil Code been infringing upon the rights of women or gender parity, why would the constitution makers put it within the constitution itself? Are we saying that Dr. Ambedkar was anti-women? Almost 6-7 decades, the parties which remained in power in the center, instead of trying to create awareness about Uniform Civil Code, they created a phobia about Uniform Civil Code.
Do you think UCC will promote national integration?
Center or the ruling party also says Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan. That is also uniformity of a kind. Do you think that will bring in national integration? Uniformity for the sake of uniformity at the cost of raising unnecessary diversions and fear is certainly not good for national integrity.
So things like having two different laws for two different communities. So that creates basically a wedge. These are the fundamental things which ultimately lead to rise of separatism. Because whenever we have treated this community separately, that has become a fundamental problem in terms of giving rise to greater problem of separatism. So that's why I think it is important for national integration.
For more such video content, follow Deccan Herald on all social media platforms.